Straw Hut Media.
Hi everyone, and happy Pride! Welcome to Release Date Rewind, and welcome to Jurassic Park. That's right, many of you voted on my Instagram poll, and that mega blockbuster from Steven Spielberg and friends won over The Truman Show, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary this month, and 28 Days Later, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary when it came to the US. The power of the T-Rex. You guys needed Jurassic Park, and I'm giving it to you. I'm your host, Mark J. Parker, a film lover and filmmaker. And if you didn't already know, this podcast, brought to you by Straw Hut Media, celebrates milestone movie anniversaries. June is a month for game changers, and boy, what a game changer are we about to discuss. We're going back 30 years ago to June 1993, when this little, independent, low-budget little movie called Jurassic Park dominated the box office and pop culture and still dominates today. If you haven't seen this movie, wow, please go watch and enjoy and then come back and listen. It's streaming on Peacock currently in the US, so go have fun. And now we're going to spoil lots of twists and turns, so just be warned. All right, visitors, hold on to your butts, stay inside the vehicle, and check if your water glasses are vibrating because it's time to rewind. I am so excited that casting director extraordinaire, Baker extraordinaire, Jurassic Park mega fan, Megasaurus, Julie Schubert is in the house. Hi, Julie. Welcome to Release Date Rewind.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and talk about Jurassic Park.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're here. We've known each other for a long time. We were doing, she's also a trivia master. How could I forget that in your little description log line for you? She does a lot of really cool stuff, does it really well. And I am so happy that you had responded to I think it was a Facebook post, gauging some interest. And Julie said, oh my gosh, Jurassic Park is my everything. And so here we are now, 30 years later, we're going to nerd out about this amazing blockbuster of a movie. Now, Julie, real quick.
Yeah.
We know you love the first Jurassic Park. If you had to choose a favorite sequel, what would your favorite sequel be?
Oh, that's so hard. I mean, I might have to go with Dominion just because I have a very good friend in it. And she's
DeWanda. Yes. Tell us, because DeWanda is such an excellent actress and also so beautiful. Tell us, what's your connection with DeWanda? You and DeWanda were roommates years ago, right?
We were, we were roommates very, very long time ago before either of us were doing what we do now. And
oh my gosh.
She's great. I'm just,
yeah.
It was very, actually, like, when she got the part, obviously she couldn't say anything because it's very top secret. But I was like, I was so excited because it's like, this is the franchise that I love so very desperately. I was like, I'm going to come to set. I'm going to be your assistant. You tell me what to do. I will. And she's like, yeah, of course. And then obviously COVID hit. And
I was going to say,
and it was
right.
And I was like, oh, so sad. But then I got to go to the premiere in LA.
Oh, that's awesome,
Julie. And it was very exciting.
Oh, that is so cool. What was the premiere like? I'm sure it was like they went all out. Were there dinosaurs walking around? Was there crazy, right?
They were holding the dinosaurs. There was puppeteers with moving the dinosaurs. There was swag. There was everything. It was great. It made me very happy. It was a Chinese theater.
Oh yeah,
in Los Angeles.
That's amazing, and it's so fun now knowing how much you love, especially the original movie, but the franchise as a whole. Like, oh my God, you must have been like just over the moon. That is so cool. I love that for you. And I love that for DeWanda.
More for DeWanda. That's
right?
a really great thing for DeWanda and her career. But for me, it was just like me and my kid self just nerding out and having the best time.
Oh my gosh. That is so cool. Okay. Well, before we get really, into all the nitty gritty details of this great movie, Julie, tell us. So like I said, Julie is a casting director extraordinaire. She is an Emmy winner. She does all these amazing things. How is the writer's strike affecting work? What are you working on now? Can you tell us? Probably not.
I can't talk about what I'm working on, but it's slow. I mean, usually I'm ramping up on a project around now, and Obviously, with the strike happening, there's nothing being written, and studios aren't greenlighting things. There's a potential actor strike in 2 weeks, so it's it's a weird time. Trying to embrace what's going on. I do have work right now, which is really
That's
nice
good.
because those scripts have been written and we can move forward. But yeah, we'll see what happens in 2 weeks.
Gee, well, what do you think? I mean, usually whenever SAG goes on strike, it's been a long time. I don't know when. I know the writer's strike was like, last one was 15 years ago. I was an intern at One Life to Live then. So it was very interesting to be in that writer's room and like getting mysterious scripts written by unknown people, right?
Oh, no, they did that? Oh, that's bad.
Oh,
I can say for sure that none of my projects currently, that is not happening on my projects. The writers are very much like, adios.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard to get away with that kind of stuff now. I mean, yikes. Social media, you were going to get put on blast. But right, like I feel like whenever SAG strikes, it doesn't go on for very long. Do you feel like the strike for them will be long? What do you think?
I mean, that's a really good question. I think it's anybody's game. We're at a point in history right now where there's a lot of uncertainty, especially regarding AI, and I think there needs to be protections for all the guilds in regards to that, because if that is not in place right now, the entire industry will shift in a way that we'll see a lot of many actors losing opportunities.
Right. Oh my God.
Because, I mean, actors that are deceased could sell their estates could sell their likenesses to studios and networks, and then they could just artificially put them in things. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of potential cool things and a lot of potential scary things, and I think it's really. I mean, obviously there are other issues at stake, but that to me is one of the primary ones that needs to be addressed. Because it doesn't only affect the actors and the writers, it affects every other department. Because if there's no actors on set, there's no grips, there's no...
Right. And also, then there's no need for casting, because it's just...
Well, I think there will always be a need for casting.
I guess
it'll
maybe...
look a lot different. It'll be more digital than it would be...
Right. Yeah. Maybe, well, I don't know. I was going to say maybe like voiceover casting, but I guess not. It might be like Sir Richard Attenborough's voice just living on forever and ever, right?
Yeah,
like
I could see a scenario where we would still be making lists and having conversations with the directors about who creatively makes the most sense in this role. And then they could just go and hire the likeness of that person. And,
yeah, you're so right.
The AI team to put them on, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I'm not, sci-fi is outside of my realm of expertise. I mean,
you totally just you just made me think like now your list could be even longer. It could be living people and dead people. It could be like James Dean and Ryan Reynolds. Like, you know what like, whoa, freaky, right? Yeah. Wow. Well, what can you tell us what you have cast recently? I know the Kerry Russell show, The Diplomat you worked on, right?
That one. Everybody watch, please. I think it's great.
I need to watch it. I love I forget if I told you, but I love Kerry Russell. One of my eternal crushes. Oh my gosh. What now that's political thriller, would you say?
I think it's interesting. It's like it's politically intriguing with humor. Okay. I just think it's so incredibly well written,
nice and
smart and fantastic. And Deborah Kahn is the creator of that, and she's a genius. And so it's really wonderful to get to work on that series.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that just came to Netflix recently. Anything else that's out now that you've worked on recently that you can talk about?
Saint X Dropped. That's a show series on Hulu. That's very much a mystery, wrapped in a love story in a weird way. And it gets real dark, and a lot of really terrific young actors, up and coming young actors that everyone should keep on their radar, because they're brilliant and they will be doing brilliant things in the future.
Wow. That's so exciting. And where did they shoot Saint X? It looks very
the Dominican Republic.
Wow. Love it.
They shot in the Dominican Republic.
We're getting sort of like into Jurassic territory down that way.
Exactly.
Love it. Yeah. Now, is Saint X, is that a limited series? Is it done, or could there be more?
You're
Right? Yeah, actually, you never know these days, right? Whatever's limited, all of a sudden now
and then
is
shows that get canceled get picked up again. It's kind of wild.
Totally.
Yeah.
And shows that get 2 season additional renewals all of a sudden get no renewals, right? It's like, you never know.
Oh yeah, it's a weird world out there.
But that's amazing. Good for you. Lots of cool, exciting stuff that I have to see. My long TV list is just getting longer.
I know. It's
longer.
just like the content. There's so much content. It's like,
my
what
God,
are you watching right now that you're really excited about?
Right? I'm just rewatching Jurassic Park. I'm just like, okay, well, what's on my list for the podcast? Because that's the most priority. Let's go back 30 years, right?
Amazing. But there's some nostalgia. That's the fun stuff.
Oh, totally. I mean, and also a movie like this, wow. We'll get into it in a minute, but
can I just say, no joke. Yeah. Do you know how excited I was to cast Miguel Sandoval in The Diplomat?
Wait, what else was he in?
He's in Jurassic Park.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yes. Oh my gosh. Wow. Did you talk to him about this movie?
No, I felt embarrassed. I mean, that was like 30 years ago. I could be like, can I just tell you I'm obsessed with you from Jurassic Park? I don't think he would have, I think he would have thought I was insane.
That's so funny. Is he the guy that's holding the amber in the beginning, like the mosquito? Yeah, is that him? Yes.
Rasta, what's his name?
I forget his character's name.
So he's in the very first scene.
Yes, with the lawyer.
The lawyer Gennaro comes in and is like, "This is terrible. We're gonna do the things." And he's like, "Look at the amber," and then it's
yes.
So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and he's as soon as I rewatched and saw him, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. He's in a million things. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
He's brilliant.
Yes. I love that.
Literally, do you know how excited I was to cast Miguel Sandoval?
Oh, I love that. Don't be shy. That's like when years ago when I was working at Wendy Williams and Wes Craven was coming to the show back when he was alive, and it was a totally strange booking. Like it was a weird fit. He felt uncomfortable. It's a very loud show, and he's like pretty chill and like he's promoting a new scary movie. But I purposely waited I had put in my 2 weeks notice, but I extended it to a 3-week notice to meet Wes Craven, because that was when I was the talent coordinator, and I was way too chicken to tell him how much I loved his movies. And I even brought like some DVD box sets for him to sign. I was too embarrassed to pull him out of my bag because he was like, he was a normal guy. It wasn't like, he was like super duper outgoing. He was very chill. So I was like, I'm not going to. But yeah, every now and then you got to be, I get it. You got to be careful. You don't want to you don't want to over nerd out.
With us, like we're talent bookers, casting bookers, things like that. It's like, I'm a huge actor fan. Like I'm obsessed with all actors because I think they're just so brilliant with what they do. And so it's a fine line to be a super fan, but also like nuts. Like I don't want them to think that I'm nuts. And I don't think I'm nuts, but maybe, who knows?
Oh no, you're not nuts. Definitely not.
But to do what we do, we have to be fans of actors. Like it's not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And it is a fine line. You're so right. You have to be a fan, but the second you nerd out a little too much too soon, then every time you look at each other, you're gonna just think of like. Right? Like, oh, this is this casting fan, So, yeah. But besides casting, you need to tell us, because, Julie, it is beautiful work you're doing. It is beautiful, and I bet it tastes even more beautiful. Actually, I've tasted some of your amazing creations.
But in the beginning, though, I've gotten much better.
I believe you. I don't know how you could have gotten much better, but I believe your work is impeccable. Everybody, you got to go on Instagram. What is the name of your baking Instagram? Do you want to tell us?
It's at Underground Bake Club.
Yes. And Julie, how long have you been baking? Because at least from my perspective, it hasn't been going on for that long, but have you been baking for years and years?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a restaurant family, so we're always in the kitchen and doing things, but I only started getting into, and it's I call it edible art because it still tastes really good, but it's more about the art of it than the flavors.
It is so beautiful. Yes. The details, Julie, like, you do like cookies and cakes and like amazing stuff. What has been some of your favorite stuff that you've made recently?
Okay, it's gonna be creepy. Like my absolute favorite piece that I've ever done was a life-size severed hand for a Halloween.
Oh my god!
It was a cookie. It was a red velvet sugar cookie. It was for Halloween, and actually, I have a Jurassic Park dig cookie that I did that I was open. Oh, and my tacos just arrived for my Taco Tuesday in my,
nice,
my Tacosaurus container.
There you go, Tacosaurus night. Yeah, I'm looking at this impeccable Instagram. I mean, the pizza cake.
Pizza cake turned out really well. And like, did you see the leg lamp? I made that leg lamp. So that's a six layer pumpkin spice cake with Swiss meringue buttercream
Julie, this is crazy. How do you even do something like this? Like, is there like a something in it, like keeping it all straight up? Like
No.
a,
So, I mean, the cake is only the lampshade part of it. So
uh-huh.
I had this idea. My friend has a Friendsgiving every year, and everyone brings a dish. It's like a potluck. And I was like, I want to do a dessert. Because at that point I'd been doing, so I'd gotten into this during the pandemic because I needed hobbies. Because I realized as the pandemic happened, I didn't actually have any hobbies. And so this is one of them, along with like 4 or 5 others that I now do. But I got really into cookie making. I like signed up for Cookie University, and a box
Wow.
came, and like I did the little tutorials. I'm like, this is really fun. Let's see what else you can do with royal icing. And like you can do a lot with royal icing. It's kind of amazing. And there's some amazing cookie artists out there. And then I kind of
Yeah.
ventured into cakes because my goal for this year is to create by December a real, like I want to do a hyper realistic cake that matches something that I have in the house. So
Oh.
we'll
Oh,
see.
that's a fun teaser. Everyone's got to check out her Instagram in December. Julie, would you ever do like a cooking show, like as a contestant, or is
Like
that
literally my secret dream. I mean, that's a
okay?
secret right now, but like I want to be
I
on Is It Cake? I want to be on like a Food Network show,
yeah.
competing with like Ray Drummond for the holiday special. I want to do the Halloween
Oh my God, Julie, if
challenge.
you were
Like
on a Halloween challenge episode or
literally,
season, I would cry. I'd be so happy. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean,
I don't even know how to do it. I don't know how to. I mean, it's so funny because like we're in casting. Like we should know what to. I have no idea what to do. How to like even get considered for it. So
oh, I'm sure there's all sorts of sites. I'll look around on Facebook. Those people
yeah.
are always posting on Facebook like,
Are
"Hey, are
they?
you
I
a
should
Oh
find
yeah.
find them then.
I'll send
Please
you some
pick me.
posts. Oh my
I'm
gosh, yeah.
funny
Some
sometimes.
really amazing stuff. I'm just
Thank
scrolling
you,
through. I
Mark.
mean,
Thank
it's
you.
honestly, it's so impressive. Next time I do a shoot, like I've told you before, I gotta like hire you to send some cookies, some bloody cookies or something for the cast and crew. I mean, people would love that. And also, I was just noticing because you worked on Kaleidoscope, right, on
Yeah.
Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And you also recently made like fun kind of like cookies of the characters,
And
right?
they
I thought
glow
they
in the
were
dark. So like,
glow
and
in the
that
dark
goes.
cookies.
Yeah. And you just have to scrub because I was messing around
Oh,
with glow in the dark, and I was messing around with invisible edible ink. So
you're
like, there's
so right. Oh my God.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Julie, you're really good. You're actually better than like most of these crazy people that are contestants
Oh
on these shows.
no, those
So you
contestants
could
are really special. Like they're
you could
wonderful.
easily, I think you could really win. But also, you should, I mean, if you ever need a break from casting, not that you ever will take a break. I mean, you could easily make amazing like promotional food for some show or some movie, right? Think about
Maybe.
it.
I mean, I think it would lose the joy of it for me because like
Yeah.
I really love what I do in my career. I I want to have hobbies that I don't monetize, and this is. But like,
Yeah.
if I can find a way to be a contestant on a Food Network show, like that would be amazing. That would make me so happy.
That's like top of your resume now, right?
Totally
Oh
top
my gosh.
top of my bucket list. Just once, like give me a
Yeah.
shot. Give me a shot, guys.
But you know what's so funny? They're gonna tell you what they told me years ago when I had like gone out for like 2 or 3 reality shows. Like this is probably like this was back in college, but because I had already started interning and working on different shows and movies and stuff, they would tell me, "Oh, you know too much about the industry. Like we wouldn't be able to manipulate you." So I wonder if they'd say that to you. They'd be like, "Oh, your work is so good, but you know this world too much. Like we would not be able to like, you know." But maybe it's different. Maybe it's different for cooking
Maybe.
shows. I
I
feel like
mean,
there's a little less drama, you
there was an
know, on
agent,
those.
Jeremy Leaner, who competed against Bobby Flay and won
Wow.
and won
Oh, wow.
and won. But he's in the industry, so you would assume
Okay, yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
something.
maybe it's different with cooking shows. You
Yeah,
know, I
maybe.
think this was like I want to work for P Diddy, which honestly
I love it.
I was applying to be Diddy's assistant back like for a real job, and then all of a sudden I got a call saying this is now turning into a reality show. I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll still meet with you." So weird.
That
So
is
weird. Anyway,
hilarious. Oh,
that's a whole
that's like a podcast in and of itself.
Oh my God. It was so strange. I was, like sent my cover letter and everything. I'm like, oh, so this is becoming a whole different thing. Okay. And then even weirder, I know we're going on a tangent. Even weirder when I go, it was like a whole group casting interview and I had to sit in a booth at some New York downtown restaurant in a booth with other people and I had to like talk shit about them with them right there. Like they would say like, Mark, why should I hire you over everyone here? And I was
Ew.
like, well, I already know just from looking at this person that I have I'm like, oh my God, this is so weird. So
That is
sorry.
so bizarre.
Yeah, that just randomly.
That's a good
came back
story,
to
though.
me.
I like it.
We'll be right back.
I own an island off the coast of Costa Rica. I've spent the last 5 years setting up a kind of biological preserve.
Enough of today or 15 years ago. We're going to go back in time, Julie. We
All
are going
right.
to rewind 30 years ago to June 11th, 1993, everybody. Jurassic Park came to the U.S., took over all the theaters, took over all of our lives, and a new favorite blockbuster was born. Okay, so Julie, before we get into all of our favorite scenes and all that, I'm going to just set the scene. I'll tell you what was going on at this time, June 1993. Feel free to chime in with your thoughts. Okay, on the news side, thought this was fun. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was about to be nominated to the Supreme Court this week by President Clinton, right? R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that was the beginning of a major moment for her, of course. On the music side, I thought this was so fun. RuPaul, the Queen, had just released his debut album, Supermodel of the World, with the famous song, You Better Work. So that had just come out at the same time. I think it was June 8th, 1993. Iconic, right? So that album had just come out. Also, the number one song. Do you want to take a guess, Julie? I mean, it's hard to guess music.
1993.
Yeah. What do you think?
Probably a Whitney Houston song.
Very close. She was number one for weeks earlier in the year because of The Bodyguard, right?
Right, okay.
So now, move over Whitney. It was Janet Jackson. That's The Way Love Goes.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yep, that was number one like for most of summer. Also, I thought this was funny. Bad Boys, the theme from Cops, was in the top 10 songs at this time. So
that's really
just
funny.
thought that was random fun fact.
I love that.
On the TV side, David Letterman was about to leave his late night NBC show after doing that for 11 years and move to CBS, where he was for years and years. So I thought that was pretty interesting, switching networks. And these are smaller shows, but I do love one of them. The Torkelsons was a sitcom back in the day.
I love the Torkelsons.
Right? Yes, Julie. Yes, with a very young Brittany Murphy, I believe. Wasn't she like a regular on that? Yeah, she was the friend.
Yeah.
The Torkelsons and the Harry and the Hendersons TV show.
Oh my God, that. I remember that.
Yeah. Yes, right?
It was only a one-season show, I think.
Yeah, it was very short-lived. I think Bruce Davison, I believe, took over for John Lithgow from the film. But so those two sitcoms had just aired their series finales. Pretty short-lived.
Yeah.
So that was the TV side. And then other movies, popular movies. Well, not so popular. Super Mario Brothers, the live-action movie that I just talked about on the show a couple episodes ago. Also, fun, weird dino connection. That was with John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins. That came out, but it was a big flop. But the more popular films of this time, Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Made in America with Whoopi and Ted Danson. Dave with Kevin Kline. They were all popular, right? So good. Sigourney.
Yeah.
Those were big movies in the top, 5 slots. Also, Life with Mikey with Michael J. Fox. That had just come out. That was brand new. And so was What's Love Got to Do with It with Angela Bassett. So there you go.
Good year, 1993.
Right?
Good
oh,
year.
yeah, 93. I mean, later in 93, we had Mrs. Doubtfire. We had, oh my gosh, Addams Family Values. Movies I'll talk about later this year. But I mean, 93 was like really big, memorable movies, both comedy and drama, right? Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell, what was going on. Now, real quick, I'll introduce our main players, where they were in their careers, how this movie kind of started getting off the ground, right? And feel free to chime in, Julie, with any info you have as well.
Yeah.
But, so, did you actually, I'm going to ask you first, Julie, did you read the book? Did you read Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park?
Not until after I saw the movie, because I was a youngin'.
Yeah, you were young. I was only like 6-ish when this came out, so you were right around there.
A little older. But I was still like, but I did read it after the fact.
Now you love the movie. Do you love the book from what you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read the book since probably like 94, 95, but I remember, but I've seen the movie now like 300 times.
Love
Hard
it.
to say.
Yes, yeah. I tried to read the book, much like you, after the movie, but I was still pretty young, and Michael Crichton, is
He's
not really for
problematic
kids. Yes, yes. So, yeah, I tried to read it. I didn't get far. I think I literally was like, I'm just going to watch the movie again. I'm good. It's fine, right? But, big best-selling book, published in 1990, but I thought this was interesting. Before the book was even published, Universal Studios and Spielberg acquired the rights for $1.5 million. That was Crichton's
that happens a lot. A lot of books get
Isn't that crazy? That always kind of surprises me how, it's how it always goes in the biz, but how books are such hot properties. Like, word just spreads and agents just do their thing, and all of a sudden, before people even know about the book, it's already got the rights sold for a movie. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's so interesting to me, too, because I think when you take a look at the history of film in general, some of the most successful tend to be adaptations of
oh, yeah,
these books, and I think, when you have such a long form, it's kind of like what happened with streaming, right? Like, you have this long form storytelling, and that's why series kind of made this sort of big comeback in a way. Then, like, all of the great writers moved into series because you could go into this sort of novelistic expression of story in the way that you can with books. And I don't know. I mean, it's not, you can do a lot in books that you can't necessarily do in movies, and vice versa. So,
and I did read that a lot was cut from the book. I mean, obviously they couldn't fit everything in the book in the movie, but I heard a good portion didn't even make it into the movie. So now I kind of want to try reading the book again just to compare, because I did see there were some definite changes, some deaths of characters that survived. I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. We had Jeff Goldblum's character, he died. Ian Malcolm, John Hammond.
You can't kill
right?
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And then even B.D. Wong's character, and B.D. Wong's been in almost all these movies. Henry Wu died in the book. Really interesting changes.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Spoiler, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. We're going to spoil everything. Okay, yes, he did turn into a pretty shady guy, which is an interesting arc for that character. But yeah, so obviously, as we can all imagine, if you were alive or if you were not, the novel was a huge success, right? Bestseller. And I thought this was interesting. The novel actually began as a screenplay that Michael Crichton wrote in the 80s, in 1983. And it was originally told, yeah, and it's funny because obviously he's a co-writer on this film, and he wrote Twister, which I've talked about on this movie. Love that Michael Crichton wrote Twister.
I did not know that either. I love
that. Right? But yeah, how interesting. So he was also writing screenplays, and in 1983 wrote this as a screenplay, and it was originally told from the point of view of a child, which is super interesting. But he changed it because everyone who had read the draft felt it would be better if it was told from an adult's perspective. So, but he at least held on to the child characters, right? Because the kids, we'll talk about the kids. I love the kids.
There's a cartoon version of Jurassic Park where it's told from the point of view of the children. I actually think the adult version stuff works better.
Yeah. Is that the
story?
Is that like the recent Netflix cartoon?
No, there was one earlier.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen the Netflix one.
Yeah, I know they did that recently. Okay, an earlier one. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, it is interesting to think. I had never really thought of it this way, but I'm pretty sure every sequel, every film in this 6-film franchise has had at least one leading child character. So kids have kind of always been part of the DNA, right, of this whole thing. And so now then, once it's time to write the script, Crichton is hired for an additional $500,000 to adapt the novel. And then screenwriter David Koepp, I believe, it looks like Coep, but David Koepp is a screenwriter. He had previously written the year before Death Becomes Her, one of the best, right?
I was not a Death Becomes Her fan. I mean, I love the actors in it, but I was not a Death Becomes Her fan.
Julie, what in the world?
I know. That makes me a very bad person, but
I know you're a major Bet fan, and Hocus Pocus is coming up next month, so you'll have to at least do a little voice recording or something for that. But wow.
I'm sorry. There was going to be a Hocus Pocus thing, and I did not get asked to do that one too?
I know, I'm so sorry. That one booked up fast. That one was like waiting list. I know, but at least
I can sing for you that song.
Well, when the time comes, I'm going to send you a link and you can sing into your phone, and I'm going to definitely put that in the episode. Don't you worry. Wow, Death Becomes Her. Okay. Surprising, but I'll let it slide. Okay. That's fine.
No, I mean, I love Meryl. I love Goldie.
Right.
Everybody in it was great. It was just not my cup of tea.
Not your cup of tea. Okay. But so he had just written that. Now he's on this, and he wrote the final draft. And of course, like we said, there are definitely some changes to the characters, changes to the story a little bit. Let's talk about the director, of course, Steven Spielberg. Crazy year for him. He had this mega movie. Right? This little known guy, a newcomer, comes onto the scene with this. They just gave him millions of dollars. But he had previously directed Hook. That was his last one before this, which I've talked about. Polarizing film. Some love it. I enjoy it. Some hate it, right? I don't think many people hate this one. This is a much beloved film. But how crazy, Julie. 1993 was the year Spielberg released Jurassic Park and then Schindler's List, which then won Best Picture. Crazy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So that's Spielberg. Exactly. Mad
Still
Genius. Like,
genius. I mean,
still crazy. I didn't love The Fabelmans. It was fine. It was a little too long for me, but still doing amazing stuff. West Side Story, all these great things. But yeah, I heard he would be like working on the post-production for this film while he was in Poland filming Schindler's List. Like crazy. Can't even imagine. Right? So now I'll just talk briefly about where the stars were in their careers, just our main adult leads. So first up, Sam Neill. I cannot imagine this movie without Sam Neill. Love him, love his hair. There's something about him, totally works for me. So before he did this same year, he was in The Piano, another major movie of this time. He was previously in Memoirs of an Invisible Man with Chevy Chase and The Hunt for Red October. So he was definitely a thing. Laura Dern, 20 years younger than Sam Neill. How do you feel about that, Julie? Big age gap.
I think at the time it didn't register.
Right.
But I also think of that in that period of history in filmmaking, that sort of quote unquote May December romance was considered more the norm.
Yeah.
So it didn't stick out to me in a way. But I was also like a kid, and anybody over my age
was old,
felt like a very old adult. So
right. Yes, absolutely. Because I think Laura Dern, let me think, like she was not even 30, but yeah,
I can't imagine.
Right, but for our young eyes, we're just like, oh yeah,
like we're kids.
Totally. So
I mean, I thought my mom was old, and she was only like 29. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, totally. It's like when you see a senior in high school and you're like fourth grade, you're like, whoa, that's an adult, right? Yeah. But so Laura Dern was, of course, in the previous movies before this. She was in David Lynch's Wild at Heart. She was in the film Rambling Rose, which I haven't seen, but I know that earned her first Oscar nomination. Did you check that one out? Julie, do you know Rambling? Yeah. Wow. Okay, I gotta watch it. I gotta get on it. And this was the same year she was in a movie I do like. I don't know if it's like under the radar or not, but it's with Kevin Costner called A Perfect World. Very like heavy drama. Do you remember that one?
Radar? No, I felt like that was one.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. But
maybe it was big at the time. I remember definitely watching it and loving, and I'm sure, I don't even know if it's good. I'm just, as a kid, I loved it. But now I feel like no one's talking about that movie. So I don't know. Right. But she was in that the same year. I watched
as a kid outside of like Jurassic Park and True Beverly Hills and all of those.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like I watched,
yeah.
I'm not going to even tell you what I watched on repeat. Never mind. All good. You're going to be like,
well, we still have more to talk about. So that thought might come back. So we'll see.
Fair enough.
And then wrapping up our leads, Jeff Goldblum, of course, as Ian Malcolm, iconic. He was such a star. Of course, he did The Fly in the 80s, which was a big deal, right? But he did some weird kind of movies at this time, Shooting Elizabeth, Deep Cover, a lot. I mean, that guy was busy just cranking out all these movies that I don't think a lot of people remember nowadays, but, he was definitely a thing. He was in The Player as himself the year before this came out, right? And then Sir Richard Attenborough, Oscar winner for directing Gandhi in the 80s. I thought this was interesting because I didn't really know a ton about his career. I know obviously he was a big thing. He not only was a director, but he was an actor, but hadn't acted in anything since the 70s. Yeah. Since the late 70s, I believe. So he really took a break from that, was directing lots of stuff. He directed Chaplin with Robert Downey Jr. And this same year, he directed Anthony Hopkins in Shadowlands. So Spielberg got him out of his acting hiatus to be an iconic role. I wish there was
a fly on that wall. Like, how did that conversation go?
Right?
Do you want to be hanging out with dinosaurs? And like, Serge, I was like, well, yes, I would. That sounds
right.
And it's a brilliant piece of casting, and I'm sure that the casting directors had a lot to do with that.
Oh yes,
Janet.
Yes. Now, yeah, Julie, what do you think about the casting overall? Does everyone work for you? Is there someone that doesn't work for you? What do you think?
100%. Everybody works, top to bottom.
Everyone works.
But
right?
I mean, it's also, you're looking at it from the lens of a kid, right? And so it's not, and I certainly didn't know what casting was back then. I was just like, I love everybody and I want to be, I want to be Lex and I want to hang out with the dinosaurs and do all the really great things. And
oh my gosh, Julie, how badly did you want to be Lex and Tim? I so badly wanted to be those kids.
I mean, but not be like terrified of eating. I just wanted to hang out with the dinosaurs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be eaten, but I was definitely okay running around. I'll run from some raptors and hide in a kitchen and all that. I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally. I mean, as long as you're not going to eat,
Yeah. And that electric fence. Oh my gosh. We'll get into it in a second.
I know.
Yeah, the casting is amazing. The kids I really love. And I know Joe Mazzello still acts every now and then, I think. He pops up in things. But I know, what's her name? Ariana Richards?
Ariana Richards. I don't think
she kind of stopped.
Yeah, I think she's an artist now, if I remember.
You might be right. That rings a bell.
Multimedia artist or something. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, such iconic moments with her, with both of them, but her especially. I feel like that face was just selling the fear.
Every piece of casting in that was really interesting, even down to Dodgson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's a memorable face, and he did his job, and he came in. But you remember Dodgson, where Wayne Knight being the amazing
Wayne Knight.
Everything was so meticulously specific and great.
Absolutely.
No one got lost in the story, and you walked away remembering everybody. And I think that that to me is a testament to casting, because when you can, even the smallest character blends with the fabric in a way that stands out to you. I think it's brilliant.
That's beautifully said. I love that. You're so right. And it's also very interesting because a movie like this, I mean, we know Dominion and all the recent sequels with Jurassic World, but a movie like this would have 1 million speaking roles, I feel like. But I like how this is pretty streamlined. We don't have a huge cast. There aren't a ton of speaking roles. There's that boy in the beginning who gives Alan a hard time and the whole raptor claw, right?
It's so funny.
He's so funny. Oh my gosh, that kid.
But every movie in that era had a kid like that. Throne had a kid like that. There was always a kid, and that was always my favorite part, because I'm those little brat,
Oh yeah, a little brat that's and then I had forgotten how hard Alan goes in and just scares him and says he'll slash you this way. Oh my gosh, brilliant.
And Laura Dern is did you have to go so hard? And he's
right.
I don't like kids.
Yep.
There it is. Welcome to Jurassic Park. We've made living biological attractions so astounding that they'll capture the imagination of the entire planet. The most phenomenal discovery of our time. How'd you do this? Becomes the greatest adventure of all time.
So Julie, now I'm going to throw it over to you in your own words. I'm sure anyone who's listening to this or watching this, you guys, I'm sure have seen the movie. If you haven't, wow. But Julie, in your own words, tell us, what is Jurassic Park about?
Okay. So Jurassic Park is about oh God, that's so hard. It's about all of the things that make me happy. It's about bringing dinosaurs back to life in a way that is accessible, but also ignoring the implications of what that would be to society in general and how it could wreak havoc in the world. So it's it's a from an adult standpoint, it's a socio-economical, political look at the terrible things that humans do.
Absolutely, yeah. It's such a
from a kid point of view, it's big dinosaurs eating.
Oh yeah. From a kid's point of view, it's a roller coaster ride. Sign me up. Let's go. Right. 100%. But adults, I had forgotten. It actually is pretty terrifying in multiple ways. Of course, there are great jumps, and I mean the tension is perfect, and we'll get into our favorite scary moments, right? But also just this whole idea of engineering. How they say we engineered them. These aren't robots. These are living creatures who will attack you. We open the movie with an attack, a murder, right?
Yeah.
We get the famous shoot ha, right, from Muldoon, right? But it's a great warning. Oh yeah, he's so memorable. He's so confident until he gets it. Right?
He's like, clever girl.
Clever girl, yes. Clever girl. So, Julie, when did you first see this movie? Did you see it in theaters?
Yeah, 1993 in the theaters.
Love it. Who'd you go with? Do you remember?
Oh, I have no idea. That I don't remember. I assume I was, probably was dropped off by my parents with a couple friends. Okay. Maybe.
You went with friends? Nice.
Like the first movies I ever saw were in the late 80s, and I went with my parents. Like the first movie I ever saw in the theater was Beaches.
Wow, what a good one. No wonder you're such a Bette Midler fan.
Wow. Baby, but like it ignited my love of Bette Midler, so but yeah.
Wow,
so
what an iconic first movie. Yeah, you were probably dropped off hanging with the cool kids, and now.
Oh no, we were not cool. We were the fun kids.
You might not have been, but actually you were cool. Yeah, no, you might not have felt that way, but actually you were the coolest, probably, right? Because that's how it is. It's like, oh no, we're the losers, but actually you're the kids that like everyone nowadays loves, right? So okay, and did you love the movie from start to finish? Because for a kid or a teen, it's a little heady. The opening, lots of words, lots of terms. Did you love it from start to finish? Were you a little was it slow for you? What do you remember?
I think I just remember being in awe of the dinosaurs. Like I don't really remember walking away and being like, I didn't understand it, or because I think it works on so many different levels. The way that a really good movie does, like to kids, it appeals to certain things, but adults can sit there and watch it too because it also speaks to these other things. And so, like every time I would watch it as I was growing up, I'd get more and more pieces of the puzzle. And like, it's a big blockbuster, but also there's a story there, and it's sure. But I can't say that I was like in love with it, but I was excited by it. I remember being excited about dinosaurs and wanting to hang with the dinosaurs.
Oh,
and I've got all dinosaur shit all over this. I'm so sorry.
We say all sorts of bad words. Don't worry. Okay. Oh, so, this is
pajamas, underwear, socks.
Love it.
It's like it's dinosaur heaven over here.
Oh, dinosaur heaven. See, this is
he does not like dinosaurs.
Wait, who doesn't like dinosaurs?
My husband, Adam, does not.
Really?
I know, wild, right?
So wait, does Adam not like this movie? Is he not? He's not into it at all.
He is not. We were talking about
movies.
Weird. I know, like he likes movies like Bubba Hotep, and I'm like, why?
Oh, okay. I never saw it, but okay, interesting. I know about it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
The was fantastic, but
yeah. Okay.
Jurassic Park,
wow.
Jurassic Park.
I can't imagine not liking this movie, but okay, to each his own.
He's like,
now,
dinosaurs aren't real, Julie. I'm like, they were.
You're like, yes, that's why it's even more impressive.
Science, they could do it. They could bring them back. I could have a dinosaur in like 15 years.
Seriously, with some amphibian DNA and reptile DNA.
And like that's the whole thing, right? Like, and that's one of the other parts of it. Like humans, they just mess everything up because they're just like, oh, this DNA sequence is missing. Let's put in some amphibians. But of course, we're going to pick the amphibian that can self-reproduce. Like,
right. They can just change sex, and all of a sudden, now that we're seeing broken raptor eggs, they're out on the loose. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I had forgotten about that great twist.
And you see it in the world. Everything we do, we just we destroy everything.
Yep, we're so quick to get our hands on it and play with it, and we didn't fully
fight back.
Think it through. Absolutely. And I didn't think about this until this most recent rewatch. That like this movie is kind of a new, really cool action sci-fi version of like Frankenstein in a way. We're Frankensteining, DNA and dinosaurs and frogs and all this into this beast that now we can't control, right? And I'm sure a lot of people are like, yeah, duh, Mark, but I had never really kind of made that connection until just this week. I'm like, wow, yeah. See, it all goes back to the old classics, right?
Everything does. Like the good directors always have references in those pieces.
Right.
And it's funny because I don't know if you feel this way, but when I'm talking to the folks that work with me, who are much younger because they're coming up in the industry, and I make references to these movies, and not even that old. Like we're talking movies from the 80s, even
right,
that are very clearly influencing the pieces that you're working on now. And
Oh, yeah.
Like my crew's just like, I don't know what that is. I'm just like, watch things. Watch all the things.
Right? Do you ever send them like a list of
Oh
like
yeah,
your
I have a
homework
list,
is
like, this is the stuff you should see from this era and this era and this era and this decade. And, you know.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, not only is that just good for just working in the industry, just being a pop culture and film TV fan, but also, yeah, especially for casting, you're going to want to know like who played this type of role back then. Do we do that again? Do we get diversity? Do we switch it up completely? Right? Like you want to see.
Someone says to you, the prototype for this is like Large Marge. You know exactly who they're talking about from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. You know what I mean? Like, because you watched it when it first came out in the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I'll never forget. A few years ago at a job, a younger coworker said she had never watched Titanic. And I was like, that is wild. She had no idea. She's like, I know it's like a big movie that's apparently great, right? I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm like,
that was my prom theme. I don't know what they were thinking. They made Titanic a prom theme.
Prom. Wow. Yeah, that's tricky. It's fun for a while and then it's not really something to celebrate. But yeah, okay. Did you dress like cruise chic?
No, of course not. You dressed like you were going to a prom in the 90s, but like it was Titanic themed with Celine Dion as the like lead song. And
oh my
entire
gosh.
class voted for it. And you're like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, it just shows. See, nowadays it's a little different, I feel like, because kids have so many options. But back then, in the 90s, when you had these massive movies, it's all we talked about. It's the theme of every party, of every dance, right? Like, now, forget it. One kid's listening to one thing and then someone's like, what is that, right?
What do they got in there, King Kong?
So, Julie, when you saw this movie and even when you watched it for the 300th time this week, what are some of your favorite scenes? Let's talk about why you love this. What are favorite lines, favorite characters, scenes? Tell me what's on your list specifically.
Oh, goodness. I truly love the Wayne Knight scene when he's with Dodgson and then he spritzes the shaving cream and puts it on top of pie, and you're just like, yes, and then like the waiter comes and like it's just those like little details. It's just so good.
Yes,
it makes
so
me
good.
so happy.
That's like a true blink and you miss it. Great little comedy moment, and in just that little act, it made me smile watching it again because I remembered it in the Barbasol can and all that. In that small little scene, it doesn't take that much time. We immediately establish he's such a villain. He's such a bad guy that he has to die. Right?
Yeah.
That's what's fun about this movie is in the first few deaths are people we don't. Well, actually, I take that back. The very first death is that guard who sadly just he's got to be the first one to go, right? But then we have Wayne Knight and then we have Gennaro, the lawyer, who are both slimy. They're both money hungry, right?
Yeah.
And then later we have some deaths of people that just, they thought they knew what they were doing, but they don't, right? But at least the first couple, it's definitely Crichton and David Koepp saying, no, the greedy people, they gotta bite it, right?
Yeah. I mean, you gotta get rid of the bad guys first, and then you gotta pull up the heartstrings and let it be something you really feel for.
Yeah.
But I guess really the only other one that got killed was Muldoon.
Muldoon, and then Samuel L. Jackson's character, which I think...
Oh, right! That was the one that was the hardest! I keep blocking that one out because I don't like it.
Well, and also, it's I think the only one we don't see on camera. It's one of those, right? Which is, that scene,
we actually
Julie...
don't ever see... The only deaths we see on camera are the lawyer and Wayne. And we don't see Wayne Knight, we just see the car wrecking. We see Gennaro being eaten out of the toilet.
Yeah.
Hilarious and amazing. We see Muldoon. We see the implication that he's going to be activating, but we don't actually see the death, and we don't see the death of Samuel L. Jackson either. But it's right. So the only death we actually witness, is Gennaro.
Is Gennaro? Yeah, and at least it's like you said, it's both so tense and scary, but it's also so funny. Like I can't remember the crowd's reaction when I saw it in theaters. I was young, and I'm pretty sure. If I remember correctly, and I was texting my mom today, I'm pretty sure I went to the movies with my mom. I was maybe 6, and my sister, who is 4 years younger than me. So she was only 2. I'm not sure what my mom was thinking. She might have thought it was a whole different kind of movie, because that is not her style. She is not someone that would just bring a kid. But I had this memory, and this is so gross, and I shouldn't even be saying this, but I had this memory of, because again, I was 6. So half the movie, edge of my seat, screaming, loving it. The other half, the science, definitely went over my head, right? And it definitely went over my sister Marina's head. She's only 2. I don't know why she was there. So I do have this memory of us playing on the movie theater floor, which is so gross. And I have this memory of my mom saying, get up. But we were like, we're waiting until the next dinosaur attack comes. Like, leave us alone, right? So anyway, that's my little spiel with my experience there. I can't remember the audience's reaction, but I can just imagine the crowd must have just died laughing, seeing Gennaro sitting on that toilet and just being picked up and swallowed, right? Like, at least that death we do see, it's interesting that it was intentionally also comical. It was so wild that it's,
because it's such a horrific thing. Like, right. I mean, I imagine, obviously I'm not a director and have no idea. Steven Spielberg isn't a genius, right. But like, I'd have to imagine, especially because you were trying to get that, PG-13 rating?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That like, it couldn't have been so horrifically bloody. Like in Jaws, like you see the blood come up, right?
Right.
You don't see any of the blood in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. That's true. You don't. That's so interesting.
And bruises. There's no blood in Jurassic Park.
You're so right. Yeah, you just see it on like Jeff Goldblum's leg. Yeah, you see some cuts and scrapes. You're so right. And a movie nowadays.
You can see the splatter of it. I take that back. You see the splatter of it in the car with Wayne Knight. But maybe it wasn't blood. Maybe it was actually the spit.
More goo, more spitty.
Goo, not of the blood.
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't remember now, and I just rewatched it. It's hard to kind of see. Yeah, it might be more the goo, but yeah, you bring up a great point. Yeah, to get that general audience in, they had to just sanitize it a bit. And I feel like a movie nowadays, since everyone's tastes have gotten more tougher, I'd say. More violent, right? I think the Muldoon scene, I actually think it's pretty gnarly and really kind of creepy the way the raptor jumps on him, and then we can see what's happening, but still the leaves are blocking it. So it's almost like looking through our eyes, right? You can sort of see, that raptor's like biting his head, but you can't really see it. So that's kind of terrifying. It's kind of haunting, his death. But yeah, I think a movie nowadays, blood would be just spurting up and down, right? Yeah.
Can I touch it?
Sure. I really love the scene where the dinosaur sneezes in Lex's face.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's
so
really
funny. And so gross.
It's a Vegisaurus, Lex. It's a Vegisaurus. Oh, okay. Sneeze. Well.
Sneeze. Yellow all over her face. It's like, right? It's on her lips. Oh, God. So gross. Yeah. That between the, I forget the name of the scary dinosaur that does spit on Wayne Knight. It's like Phyllosaurus? Something like that.
Yeah. Because they mentioned it in the very beginning of the movie. They were like, the spit is like a venom and paralyzing.
Oh, my gosh.
Kill it and melt you like an acid. But
right. But between that spit and then the sneeze, I mean, people are getting the goods all thrown on them.
Like a 4D version of Jurassic Park at one point in some sort of
There probably was. I'm glad you brought that up because the last time I saw this movie in full is crazy enough. 10 years ago when I saw it for my birthday, I feel like I guess you weren't there, Julie, but I had people we know, we took up a whole row. We went to Lincoln Square and we saw Jurassic Park in 3D, but I'm sure they re-released it in some sort of 4D because, oh my God, that'd be perfect. Can you imagine if they just spray water on you during the sneeze?
Oh my God. Or they can do like a taste film version of it, which would be so great.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You'd have to have like goat because the goat gets eaten, so you have a dish. You've seen the taste films, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, that would be pretty gnarly. The goat, the cow, and then all other sorts of things, right?
Different tastes. You'd have vegetable taste because obviously there's the dinosaur that was sick.
You're right. Oh, my God. Another gross moment when Ellie just like sticks her finger in its tongue and like she's like, ooh. I'm like, oh, I
need to see the dinosaur dropping.
Yeah. Yes. You guys go ahead. A storm's coming, but you guys go ahead. I'm going to stay here with.
And then, I want to know what happened to that. That was my one.
Yes.
Like, where did that doctor go?
You're so right. It is interesting
because she didn't get back in time to make the ferry, so ostensibly he didn't either.
Yeah, it's you bring up a great point that I have not thought of until this very moment. Yeah, what happened? I don't even know that guy's name. Also, he wasn't even like alarmed that these people are walking on foot. Like they came out of the cars. He's just like, oh yeah, go check it out. Like, you would think he'd be like, whoa, 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 who are you? You know? But we never see him again. And also, I thought of there's that scene with Wayne Knight with Nedry. He's coming up with his plan. He's talking to the guy, I think, on the ferry. Is that right? They're like,
the ferry,
video
like
chat.
the ferry guy.
Yeah. We don't really ever see that guy again. I guess we don't need to. There's no point. He's off and safe. But yeah, you're right. We never see that one doctor. You're so right. But that whole Triceratops scene is so fun. Of course, we have the iconic meme-worthy, you know, when Dr. Grant is like laying on the trike, they call her, as she's breathing, right? Yeah. That's a nice scene for sure.
Harding was one of the producers, like the person who played that.
Oh, in that role? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's so interesting. He's good. Very natural, I thought.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Love that little cameo trivia.
Trivia I'm throwing to you. How about that?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And feel free to shout out more. I know you have lots.
Universal Pictures presents
You feel that?
Hold on to your butts.
a Steven Spielberg film.
Here are messages from my friends Tom Chuba and Hannah Gagnon, who also love this movie. Let's hear what they have to say.
Hey everyone, it's Tom, Mark's former co-host of Add This to Your List. So there are three main reasons why I think Jurassic Park is still, to this day, obviously iconic. Number one, dinosaurs have never looked as good, right? So it's been, 30 years since the release of Jurassic Park? But I think that franchise, and in particular the first and second film, still have the best looking dinosaurs out there in the cinematic universe. Second, Laura Dern's iconic overacting, and I mean that with all love, right? She gave 150% in that role, and I think that still makes the film what it is today. Number three, that scene with the kids in the car and the T-Rex. To this day, if I watch that scene, it heightens my emotions so much that I actually choke up and sometimes even cry. The fear, the intensity, it just feels so real, and is incredibly well written and well directed of a scene. So those are three reasons why I think Jurassic Park still holds the power that it does today.
Hey there, my name's Hannah Gagnon. I am a huge fan of Jurassic Park. I don't remember all that much from the first time that I watched the film, but I do remember that it was all fun and games and fine for me until the scene with Ellie Sattler and the arm. You know what I'm talking about. But my favorite scene has to be the flare T-Rex scene. That's just so iconic. The most amazing thing to me about the film is how they made the dinosaurs come to life using CGI and real life-size props. Insane. Another huge standout to me is the music. I mean, we all know the "Welcome to Jurassic Park" and then da-na-na-na-na. It's unmatched. John Williams is a genius, and there's nothing that can be said about it. You gotta love the clever girl scene as well. It's such an iconic franchise, such an iconic film, such a beautiful, fantastic story that has touched so many generations. And I wish it 30 more fabulous years, and even more than that.
Fences are failing all over the park.
Yeah, that's nice. Gotta go. An adventure. Look out!
I can't get Jurassic Park back online.
65 million years in the making.
Well, yeah, I love Ellie. I love a lot of her scenes. Another embarrassing fun fact, a friend and I would pretend we were her with a bad leg and running at recess Alan, and because I love that whole sequence when we realize Samuel L. Jackson is dead. I love when she's got the power on. She says, Hammond, we're back in business, and then Raptors out. Oh my God, what a great jump. And I love this whole set of she's in this creepy maintenance place. And then the arm, and I love there's a shot from below of her running and limping, and we're under her, and then we see that her flashlight's dragging, and I love that whole thing. That is so riveting. I smile because I know, I've seen it a million times now. I know, okay, that dinosaur is about to pop out, and I love it. That's one of my fave scenes for sure.
That's a good one, yeah.
And fun fact about that little trivia is, I saw a video interview with Laura Dern from a few years ago where I guess she did that running away shot in that moment the first time and was super in character, and she hears all this laughter, and maybe you heard this too, Julie. She hears all this laughter and she's like, wait, why are, like, this is like a horrifying scene, who's laughing? She realizes the whole crew is laughing because her dragging flashlight has dragged along fake Samuel L. Jackson body parts with it. So it was connected, and so she just has this, right? She has this trail of, you know, plastic limbs and all this stuff, and she had no idea. So I thought that was really cute.
That is actually hilarious.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and she said she's never seen it. I would love if that somehow,
like in a
that deleted
blooper,
scene, that outtake, right? Yeah. But what else? Any other favorite moments that like are just pure Jurassic Park to you?
I mean, I also love when Lex and Tim are in the, you know, they escape and they're just silently eating their food. Yeah. And then like you see Lex go like, and then you
Jell-O.
see the dinosaur, you know, the raptor,
the shadow. Yeah. And also what's fun there is Tim is sitting right kind of in front of, it looks like a raptor, like like a illustration on the wall, right? And then we see now the real shadow. Yes. That Jell-O. How much do you think Jell-O like paid to be part of that? Do you think that was like
I don't know, because it wasn't branded. It was just
You're right.
It was a jiggly dessert.
That's true. That's true.
So who knows? It might not have been Jell-O.
Wow. See, a
Maybe
movie today?
gelatin.
Oh my gosh. See, a movie today, Lex would have to shout, "Oh, Jell-O, I'm really in the mood for that," or something, right? And then we'd be seeing it everywhere, right? But you're right.
Somewhere, but who knows? I mean, maybe they did. I don't know. But there was no.
Yeah.
What I love about movies is like when the product placement is not when you can't call out the product placement.
Yes, when it's natural. Yeah, when it's right there
like
with them.
Or the writer and the director find a way to make it make sense.
Yep.
So it doesn't feel
agree.
like they just gave us a whole bunch of money.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't feel so like this is a billboard in the middle of the story, right? Yeah. I love that scene as well when they're eating and then it leads into, I mean, it's hard because obviously the biggest scene is when the T-Rex arrives and the kids are in the car. And I mean, that scene is amazing. But real quick, I just got to say, I love that kitchen scene. The kids are running from the raptors. They're hiding. Lex is in that cool little like cabinet that won't shut. And the raptor sees her reflection. And I mean, talk about a scene that is copied a million times. And I'm sure it's not like this movie created that kind of style. I'm sure there was something else. But the whole, you know, it always seems like it's two people, but people hiding like behind something. And then in the background of the shot is the bad guy or the raptor. And now they have to crawl, you know, like Scream 6 just did that in a bodega, like almost shot for shot, you know?
Right.
I love that whole sequence. And then poor Timmy limping to like the freezer. And I mean, those raptors are vicious. Like the T-Rex is scary, but the raptors are actually kind of scarier, right? What do you think? Do you feel like T-Rex still wins, or are the raptors actually the winners?
Well, I mean, T-Rex would eat the raptors. Like, you know, the raptors are smarter than the T-Rex.
Yeah, right.
And then they learned how to open doors. I mean, I think that's pretty.
That's a fun moment too when Ellie says, "Well, as long as they don't open doors, cut to door handle." Yep.
But yeah, no, I think they're, you know, all dinosaurs are cool. Even the Brontosaurus, although now it's called a Brachiosaurus, right? Even the Brachiosaurus is like.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's so, I love the tree stuff. A lot of good tree stuff. But yeah, I never knew, is it Brontosaurus, Brachiosaurus? Are they interchangeable? But I guess it's just a new name. Is that
I feel like Brontosaurus became like the name Brontosaurus moved into Brachiosaurus, and so Brontosaurus is not correct anymore, but also I could just be making that up because I have this vague memory from when I was a kid, like that was, no, it's not a Brontosaurus, it's a Brachiosaurus. So who knows if I actually made that up or if that's actually real. Who knows? It's funny now
that you say it, now that you say that, and especially in that voice, I feel like I also would say that as well. I feel like that was like a kid thing to be like, no, actually, guys, it's Brachiosaurus. You're saying it wrong. So that's ringing a bell. Okay. Yeah. We'll just, here it's true.
We'll have to
we don't
let us know.
Yeah. Someone can send me a message.
You didn't say the magic word.
Please! God damn it! Hate this hacking crap.
Who's your favorite character?
Oh gosh.
Do you have a favorite?
I think Wayne Knight. You know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that character is just like
And he's just so good. He just commands the screen, right?
Yeah.
Your attention is on him, even at his gross desk. And
Totally. Don't get cheap on me now, Dodgson. Don't get cheap on me.
Yes, he's looking at that bill. Yes.
So good.
Because you know why I love that line? He says, "Don't get cheap on me now, Dodgson," and he says something along the lines of, "That's what Hammond does," or that's Hammond made that mistake, something like that.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Meaning like Hammond is too cheap with Nedry, and that's why he's kind of retaliating by stealing these embryos, right? I thought that was a really great script where we immediately understand it with very few words, right? There's no exposition really needed for a lot of the stuff. We get right to it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think of Mr. DNA and the little ride they're on?
What? Oh, Mr. DNA, where did you come from?
From your blood. Just one drop of your blood contains billions of strands of DNA, the building blocks of life. A DNA strand, like me, is a blueprint for building a living thing. And sometimes animals that went extinct millions of years ago, like dinosaurs, left their blueprints behind for us to find.
Pretty fun, huh?
Felt very 1990, for sure.
Very 1990,
very 1990.
And very like, I feel like that was them poking fun at like Disney World, maybe Mickey Mouse, right? It feels right, like a little jab at
a Universal movie, so that would be a
right, yeah. And I'm sure, Julie, you have been on the Universal. Well, I guess there's a new Jurassic ride, but for a long time there was a ride at Universal. I can't remember what it was now, actually.
I get really sick on roller coasters. I do not go on them.
Oh,
I did the Gravitron too many times in a row.
Oh God, no!
I was like, it messed with my equilibrium, and now I can't. Can't even get on the teacups. It makes me dizzy.
Oh, Julie, the teacups. Oh,
don't do the Gravitron 5 times in a row. That's a very poor choice.
Oh, Julie, yeah, I'm sorry, but that was not smart. No. Well, one is all you need in your lifetime. I hate the Gravitron. No, I do remember the Jurassic Park ride at Universal. It was a little more old school, not super roller coastery, but it's all a blur now. I think it's now updated into something much slicker, but it was super fun, for sure.
All major theme parks had problems.
But John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the sequels. You know, out of all the sequels, I know you mentioned Dominion is your fave because of your personal connection, right? Of course. Yeah. I remember I've seen every one of the sequels in theaters except for Dominion. That one I did not get around to seeing because I really did not like the one before, Fallen Kingdom.
You should have gone.
I should have gone.
There's a redemption.
I know. I know it's on Prime, so I'm going to finally watch it. I started it and I realized it was 2.5 hours, which I have to shout out this movie again because I love the running time. The runtime of this movie is only 2 hours and 6 minutes. It feels perfectly adequate. So many movies nowadays like this would be much like Dominion, 2.5 hours. It's nice and tight. It's technically like 2 hours and a minute because the last 5 minutes are credits, right? With all the CGI.
Sure. Which you should watch.
Yeah.
Credits.
Oh, absolutely. All these artists. Are you kidding? And the music, that John Williams score. I mean, come on. Now, Julie, are you such a huge fan that do you have like the soundtrack? Do you have the John Williams score?
I don't have the soundtrack. I do own it in both DVD, VHS, Beta, and Blu-ray. So
Beta. Wow.
That's how old I am. I own things in Beta.
Oh my gosh, beautiful. But so, yeah, do you want to tell me, like, what do you think of the sequels? What was your experience like seeing all them? I'm sure you saw them all in theaters, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember in the last one I saw, I went to a theater not Dominion, but the one before.
Fallen Kingdom one? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I went to the theater in my town. There was a little movie theater, and there was a tornado warning. Again, everyone's phones went off in the middle of it. And we're just like, man, we're watching the movie. So there was like, we get outside and like there's tornadoes and my husband's calling me and be like, you need to get here and get in the basement. And I'm like, I'm watching Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? And so that was my memory of Jurassic Park for the last one I saw in the theaters. And
that was the spirit of Michael Crichton telling you, like,
I know,
hey, I made Twister and Jurassic Park, so we're just gonna. Oh, actually, that's a kind of a fun mashup. Whoa, right? Maybe someday we'll get a tornado.
It'll be like Dinados, like, Sharknado, but Dinados.
Yes. You know what? Actually, I'm sure that already exists. I'm sure Sci-Fi Channel did that long ago. We're way behind. Yeah.
Good point.
But yeah, I do remember loving The Lost World, although I know that one, I guess I've heard, I haven't seen it in a while. I know that one, I guess, hasn't aged as well. It's not so good. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I again, it's like when you watch something that you love so much as a kid, you just can't help but love it. And I liked all of them,
Right.
I think the first three are the ones that I've watched the most.
Yeah.
The first one, obviously, the most, but you know.
Yep.
It was those movies were my introduction to Téa Leoni and Bill H. Macy and and Julianne Moore. I didn't know before that because I was also a kid. So it was a
The casting for these films, even with Jurassic World, I mean, Bryce Dallas Howard, I mean, she's I think really good in a lot of her stuff. So the casting was not always the Chris Pratt who I mean, don't get me wrong, he's good. I don't love him maybe as much as there goes my microphone. Maybe as much as like Jeff Goldblum or, Sam Neill, of course. But the casting has always been pretty interesting, at least with the female roles. Laura Dern, Juliette, like really Téa Leoni, really interesting women that aren't the damsels in distress. They are smart. They are just as actors, just really interesting women choosing all sorts of roles. So yeah, the casting has always been pretty cool.
I like Chris Pratt too. Like I enjoy what he does. So
yeah, he fits it very well. He's like the perfect blend of Jurassic and Indiana Jones with what he does in Jurassic World. So yeah,
exactly,
right.
Must go faster.
And yes, everybody, you are going to be very lucky if one day you get to take one of Julie's trivia sessions, because they are top notch.
That was my other pandemic hobby, like writing.
It was, and we thank you for it. Thank you for your service, because you were an American hero. You are, but you especially were in 2020 and 2021. Trivia kept us going. Well, I'll shout out some things that you probably know some things as well, so chime in with your thoughts. But I thought this was funny. The dinosaur sounds, because of course.
Oh, the elephant, and it's like and like an amalgamation of all the things.
Right. I thought that was so interesting. It's like elephants. It's mating turtles, which is funny. I think I even heard it was like a goose barking, like, because and this brings up a really good point that, like, I mean, the sound designers, they're amazing, but no one really for sure knew what dinosaurs sound like, right? Back 65 million years ago, right? So a whole amalgamation of various animal sounds. I thought that was funny because I guess mating turtles sound terrifying.
And like the alligator is the low point of the sound, and like the screaming elephant is the high point of the sound. Wow. So it's all together,
Yeah, and I was hearing, like, I think the goose barking is like the raptors kind of communicating to each other, that deeper sound. So yeah, really amazing. I'm sure there's so many awesome.
Sound mixing is amazing. They do.
Oh my God, right? And that's why it won the Oscar for both best sound and best sound effects editing, I think it was called back then. And then of course it also won best visual effects, of course. I mean, how
they
could
deserved it.
Now, Julie, speaking of the Oscars, it won all three that it was nominated for, but I mean, in hindsight, I find it so crazy, but I guess the Oscars have always been a little hoity-toity. What do you think about this movie not being nominated for Best Picture? Does it feel like not a surprise, or
you never see these sort of movies being nominated?
I know,
but it's always the prestige dramas that
but it's funny to me just because, I don't know, 30 years later, this movie, is a fun and sometimes funny, intentionally, action, blockbuster, roller coaster ride, but it's also so smart and it's acted really well. And I don't know, I was doing my research, I was like, wow, this really was not nominated for Best Picture. Come on, guys. But
listen, now we have 10,
and there you go.
Now we have 10 things that are nominated for Best Picture, so it has a shot.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, because nowadays with all the noms, I would hope it would fit in. Geez, guys, come on. What do you want, right? What else do I have?
Okay,
let's talk.
He won anyway. He won for Schindler's List. So.
Yeah, no matter what. I mean, it was like a joint award. I think everyone was like, "Hey, you had a good year, so go for it," right? And Stan Winston, of course, the iconic Stan Winston, he won his Oscar for visual effects because so of course there were two teams, right? There was the CGI team from Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, if you're in the know, and then the life-size animatronic dinosaurs, they were Stan Winston's team. So it's funny because the last movie I just talked about, total opposite of Jurassic Park. On the show, we just talked about Wrong Turn. Very guilty pleasure, gross horror movie from 20 years ago that Stan Winston produced and did the special makeup effects for. So just love a guy who can do amazing prestige and, crappy, fun, guilty pleasure stuff, right? So shout out to Stan. But Julie, I have to talk about casting with you. Let's talk more about it.
Okay.
I thought this would be funny to share with you. So here are all the actors that were either offered roles or in contention for roles. William Hurt was initially offered the role of Alan Grant. What are your thoughts?
He definitely would be on the list to discuss. That makes sense.
Yep, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He turned it down without reading the script. He was not having it. Wow.
I mean, he wasn't a dinosaur fan. I get it.
Yeah, he just, wasn't
a dinosaur fan.
Right. Other actors, Kurt Russell, which I could totally see. Oh my God. Kurt Russell and Richard Dreyfuss were also considered for the role, but they were deemed too expensive. Isn't that funny? Their fees were.
They were. I mean, in '93, because that was Beetlejuice and. I'm sorry. I think Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, yeah, that was like late 80s, but Kurt Russell was like Captain Ron, I feel like was around this time. Yeah. And then Dreyfuss was about to do Mr. Holland's Opus, which was a thing, right?
Sure.
So they were too expensive. Harrison Ford, duh, and Tim Robbins, interesting, were also offered the role. No reason why I guess they turned it down.
Wait, I'm sorry. Richard Dreyfuss and Kurt Russell were too expensive, but Harrison Ford was not?
Right? Maybe, you know what? Maybe, and who knows if
Star Wars is out way before that, so
way before. And Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, but maybe because Harrison had worked with Spielberg before, or maybe they deemed Harrison Ford worth his fee, and maybe the others weren't. I don't know. This is just speculation,
but
right?
Honestly, no one but Sam Neill should play that role. He was great.
I know. And isn't it funny? He was cast just 3 or 4 weeks before filming began, and I had seen this fun clip where they were trying to decide, should he just use his natural accent? Because I think, is he Australian?
He's Australian, yeah.
Yes. So American versus Australian natural, and then he was saying that even during filming, Spielberg would just kind of tell him somewhere in between. So I don't, again, once you see a movie as a kid, you just always kind of love it, right? So I don't pick apart his accent, but I guess some fans do. Doesn't bother me in the slightest.
I still,
right?
Actually, I'm like, he's international. He travels all over the world. Of course he's going to have an amalgamated accent.
Honestly, I view it as...
to London have this weird faux American British accent thing going on now.
Yeah, it happened to Madonna. It happens to us all, right? If you get to live, right? But honestly, I don't even view him as international. I just say oh, that's what a smart accent is. He's very smart. He's got his PhD, so he has a little bit of, right? So that's how I look at it. But so of course I went to Sam Neill. I thought this was fun for the Jeff Goldblum role, Ian Malcolm. Jim Carrey auditioned, but I guess they deemed him just a little too funny. They wanted obviously the comedy because Jeff Goldblum has some great one-liners, right? But they needed some seriousness, so there you go. Yeah. Laura Dern was Spielberg's first choice, so there weren't really many other people, but they did offer it to other people first. I guess the producers, the studio, they wanted Robin Wright and also Juliette Binoche, which is interesting.
There's always different versions of things, but in a way, it's interesting to think what it could be, but nothing beats what it ended up being,
Totally agree. The faces that Laura and Sam, that they all give, but when he turns her head and they're looking at the Brachiosaurus, right? Yeah, the way they react, and I'm sure, especially 30 years ago, it must have been so hard looking at nothing. You're looking at a green screen, or actually, I know for that scene, I saw a clip where they actually had a piece of paper up in the tree for the head of the dinosaur, and then they had a crew person just stand where the tail would be so that they could see the distance and just marvel at it, which is so funny.
Smart.
I love how, right?
Thank God for actors who are brilliant.
Right? Yeah. Thank God for actors, and thank God for that kind of not guerrilla style, but just this is all we got. So just look at him and look at that, nowadays they're going to have a whole cool thing, but back then they weren't so cool, right? Which I love. Yeah. And also Gwyneth Paltrow, who was probably very young at this time, she had a small part in Hook, so she was on Spielberg's radar. Sure. She and Helen Hunt had auditioned for the role, and funny, Helen Hunt went on to star in Crichton's Twister. So there you go. Those ladies, there definitely was like a blonde, fair theme going on there. And then last little tidbit for casting, Christina Ricci auditioned for the Lex role, which I love because of course she did. She was such a thing at this time, right? And Joe...
Wednesday Addams was after that, wasn't she?
Wednesday, she was in Wednesday. Addams Family 1 was 91. So
that was 91, so she was already known. Okay, got
She was already a thing. And then Addams Family Values, the second one, came out later this year. So she definitely at least was making the rounds with that character for sure. Yeah. And then I thought it was interesting. Joseph Mazzello had screen tested for, I guess, the lead... I don't know. It's vague, the info I saw. Maybe it wasn't the lead boy in Hook, but one of the boys in Hook, but was deemed too young at the time. Because, I mean, he's pretty young even in this, and Hook was a couple years earlier. But Spielberg had promised him they would work together on a future film. So I thought that was cute.
I like that.
I mean, he is just so good as Tim. I mean, I in some of my acting classes for kids, we have done the Lex and Tim scenes where they're bickering, or when Tim is like obsessing over Dr. Grant in the beginning in the car, like, I read your book, so he's so cute. He's so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nicely done.
Nicely done. Yes. But that's all I have. It, of course, opened at number 1. It made hundreds of millions just in the US, and it was the first to gross 500 million overseas, surpassing the record set by Spielberg's other tiny film, E.T. So he beat his own record, right?
That old chestnut. Got it.
Yep. Anything else, Julie, you want to share? Any other fun scenes that you have to tell us before we wrap it up, before we leave?
No, I think it was just really nice talking about it. Thank you so much for inviting me to reminisce about my childhood.
Oh, I'm so happy. I love that you love this. I'm so glad you were free to do this.
Jurassic Park.
And that's why I think you really shouldn't play around with mosquitoes. They're just bad news, guys. Thank you for listening to this episode on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Please leave a rating or thumbs up or subscribe to let me know you liked it. And thank you so much to my friend, the totally Jurassic Julie Schubert. Thanks also to Dino fans Tom Chuba and Hannah Gagnon for your cameos. Video highlights of our conversation will soon be on Portland Media Center's website and their YouTube page if you'd like to watch there. Thank you, PMC. Thank you, Straw Hut Media, Greg Clements, and Kyle Motzinger. And follow me on Instagram at Release Date Rewind for updates and extras. And like I mentioned earlier, next time on Release Date Rewind, we're leaving this island of animals and going to, well, another island of animals when we discuss Sex and the City. The show primarily, but we'll probably talk about the movies, and we'll of course mention And Just Like That. So keep an eye out for that one later this month. Be safe out there, everyone. Bye-bye.